Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Richard the Guru. And today we are doing our next top 10 video. Now, if you watched the last one, you know that we did the top 10 most used words in the world. And I thought it was a bit interesting when I looked at it. But it was pretty self-explanatory. Most of the words you could have guessed would be on the list. But there was one, of course, nice that was really kind of surprising. Anyway, today we have a much more interesting top 10 video than the last one, if I do say so myself, because it is sports related and I am a sports guru. We have the top 10 players ever to step on the baseball field. The baseball field. Top 10 ever MLB players to ever step foot and play the game. So we're going to jump right into it. Let me know in the comments what you guys think of this list, if there are any controversial picks, because there are a couple on this list that I will debate with you, and I will freely argue them with you. Also, please subscribe. Every subscription means the world. I'm hoping to get 100 subs by Christmas. I think that'd be a good shot, so we'll go with that. All right. Number 10, and probably the most controversial on this list, Mr. Barry Bonds. Now, I know a lot of people hate Barry Bonds for his whole use of steroids, and that's why he's so successful, and that's why he hit so many home runs. But while that may have been a part of it, come on, guys. To hit 760-something home runs in Major League Baseball, you can't just say it's the steroids. You got to be a good enough hitter to read pitches. You got to be a good enough hitter to properly be able to hit the ball out of the park. Now, it is not an easy thing to do, hit a home run. I mean, yeah, you got to be big enough. Yeah, you got to be strong enough. But look at a guy like Jose Altuve. He's 5'6". He can jack 3 home runs in a game. Anyway, Barry Bonds, despite all the controversy, despite all the steroids, and despite everything that went on in his career, the issues and whatever, he is still one of the best hitters to ever grace this game. He had one of the most beautiful swings I've ever seen. It is fluid, it is powerful, it is strong, and without that swing, he doesn't hit anywhere near as many home runs. So, and remember, he also hit a lot of home runs before he was recorded starting to use steroids. So, don't blame the home runs on the steroids. You still got to be able to hit the ball out of the park. You still got to be able to read a pitch, whether it's a fastball, a curveball, a slider, a knuckleball, a splitter, whatever it is. You still got to be able to read that pitch, time it, you have less than 2 seconds to hit a major league pitch and knock it 300-something feet in the air. That's not an easy thing to do. And all the times he did it, the playoffs, the pressure, all the different situations he was in where he would hit these home runs, it's unbelievable. He was a threat to hit a home run every single time he stepped up to bat. You know what? I got to turn these lights on. There we go. That's better. So, regardless of what you think of him, whether as a scumbag for using steroids and whatever, but he is still one of the best hitters to ever grace this game, and that is why he is number 10 on my list. Now, that is really the only true controversy on this list. Now, number 9, Honus Wagner, considered the greatest shortstop of all time, a great hitter, an amazing fielder. He was known for his defense, and also known for his baseball card that sold for $3 million, which is the most expensive playing card, one of them, in the world. So, yeah. Anyway, he had an amazing career, and he is number 9 on my list. He batted for average, he hit for power, and he stole bases. But his defense was where he thrived. And he was one of the best if not the best, well, I mean, he's considered the best shortstop ever. He might also be the best offensive shortstop ever. And he played 100 years ago, and no one has still been able to top him. So that shows the amount of skill and just grace of the game of baseball Honus Wagner possessed. Number 8, which is a name that I know a lot of people don't know, but it is Stan Musial. of the Cardinals. If you're a Cardinals fan, you know this name. He was a player for you for 22 seasons. He was a 3,000 hit man. He's actually one of the only, I think maybe the only player ever to evenly split his hits between the right and left side. He had an even split. He was a switch hitter and he split them even. So that is massively impressive. That just shows the true nature of a switch hitter, the ultimate power of a switch hitter, is how well they can bat from both sides of the plate. When you hit 3,600 hits in the MLB and you split them down the middle from the right and left sides of the plate, you are the ultimate switch hitter. So he was also extremely versatile in defense. He played the middle infield. He's one of the best players I've watched highlights of. And I know a lot of people outside of St. Louis don't really know his name too much, despite the fact that he played forever for the Cardinals. And he's one of the best players to ever step on the baseball field. And I didn't even think of his name until I saw his stats and really looked into his career a bit. So he is number 8 on my list. Hats off to you, Stan Musial, on an amazing career. Now, number 7 is a bit of a tie. It's like top 11 technically, but I couldn't decide between these two guys. So I went with number 7, Cy Young and Walter Johnson. These two were the best pitchers of the early 19th century and the late 19th century and early 20th century. Both were absolutely dominant. Cy Young, of course, most innings pitched, most wins. Unbelievable pitcher. So, what is wrong with my lights? There we go. And he is absolutely dominant as a pitcher. And Walter Johnson is one of the best pitchers of the first 2 decades of the 20th century. Absolutely destroyed teams. He might be the only player ever, I believe, to actually throw 100 shutouts. That is his big statistic. He hit a lot of batters. Walter Johnson did. He hit so many batters, more than a lot of players even today hit. But he was a bit wild. But he also threw 100-plus shutouts. And I don't think anyone else has ever done that in MLB history, besides him. So, those two are tied for number 7 on my list. Ironically, they're also the only pitchers on my list. So, yeah. I mean, they're the only pitchers on my list, which isn't exactly surprising. But if I was to do this list 10 years from now, Kershaw would probably pop up on there, maybe. Guys like Nolan. I mean, Nolan Ryan is not on this list. I will apologize. Honorable mentions, guys like Nolan Ryan, and 7 no-hitters. That's insane. But he's not on this list. I mean, he could be / Cy Young / Walter Johnson / Nolan Ryan. I could toss that in there at number 7 if I really wanted to. I mean, I should. He's one of the best pitchers to ever step on the baseball field. Now, anyway, number 6, Lou Gehrig. And as a diehard Yankee fan, I mean, I am a bit biased in this case, but Lou Gehrig is the Iron Horse, is one of the greatest players to ever step on the field. He hit for average, he hit for power, and he was also a good fielder. He was unbelievable. And he was Babe Ruth. I mean, Babe Ruth was jealous of him when Lou Gehrig came to the team for the first time. Because Lou Gehrig, for a while, showed Babe Ruth up. And Babe Ruth, actually, when Lou Gehrig arrived to the New York Yankees, was slumping a bit, which is amazing to say. Babe Ruth in a slump, but he was, for him anyway. He was slumping, and Lou Gehrig came in and picked the team up right away. But eventually, they became like Batman and Robin. They were the two guys. They were unbelievable together. They batted 3 and 4, and it was beautiful to watch. Now, we get into the top 5. Number 5, Ty Cobb. Ty Cobb is the best hitter for average in Major League history. Has a career batting average of .366. And he also hit for power. And he stole bases. And he was a good fielder. Oh my God, Ty Cobb was one of the filthiest players to ever step on the baseball field. And, yeah, Ty Cobb is number 5. Number 4, Ted Williams. Ted Williams is, even though I despise the Boston Red Sox with all fibers of my being, Ted Williams is still one of the greatest players to ever step on the field. He hit for power, he was a great fielder, he hit for average, and he was absolutely unbelievable on the field. He influenced games. His influence on a game was massive. And when he came up to the plate or when he was playing the field, he was a big part of every single win the Boston Red Sox had. Rarely did he have an off day. He was consistent. That was one of his big things. He was very consistent, both at the plate and in the field, rarely made mistakes, and became one of the greatest players to ever grace the game of baseball. Number 3. Hank Aaron. The man who broke Babe Ruth's home run record in, what year was it? I don't even remember at this point. I'd have to look. But the man who broke his home run record is one of the greatest players to ever play the game. He wasn't a great average hitter, but he hit for power, a lot of power. And he was also pretty good on the bases and in the field. So, he is one of the best players to ever play the game. He was pretty well-rounded. I mean, he wasn't like a 300 hitter like any of these other guys on this list, but he was like 275, 280. He was a well-rounded player. And that is why he's number 3 on my list. Also the fact that he broke the home run record. So, now, number 2 on my list is, of course, I didn't forget about him. If you guys think I forgot about him, I did not forget. Number 2, Willie Mays. Willie Mays is one of the most well-rounded players to ever step foot on the baseball field. He was an amazing center fielder. He was an amazing hitter. He hit for average. He hit for extreme power with over 650 home runs. He's like 5th or 6th on the all-time list. And he also hit for massive, power. He hit for average. And he was good on the bases. He was lightning fast. So, of course, you got to be to play center field. And, of course, we all know his iconic over-the-shoulder catch that has become iconic even today. So, Willie Mays, probably the most well-rounded player to ever play baseball, at least at the professional level. I mean, he had all the tools. You call guys today a 5-tool player, he was like a 9-tool player. He had the fielding, he had the speed, he had the power, he had the consistency. It was all there. Everything, the intangibles that you need to play professional baseball, even at today's level, were there. If he played today, I mean, yes, he probably wouldn't have the stats that he had, but he would still be one of the best players to ever play the game if he was playing today. So that's how good he was. So Willie Mays, number 2 on our list. And number 1, the Sultan of SWAT, the Bambino, the man of New York, the house that Ruth built, Mr. Babe Ruth. Of course, I'm a Yankees fan, so I'm a bit biased about this. But Babe Ruth was the most, perhaps, dominant player to ever step on the field. He changed games. He changed, before him, yeah, guys hit for power, but guys didn't hit the ball like Babe Ruth did when he started playing baseball. And of course, he started out as a pitcher, then he moved on. But his power was something unseen at that time. He was clocking home runs consistently. He struck out a lot, but he hit a lot of home runs. Of course, 714, which is a mark that stood for 60 years, about. And he is, perhaps, in terms of why he's number 1 on my list, besides the fact that I'm a diehard Yankees fan and I think he's the best player ever, his dominance over the game, his influence as a single player in the 18 other players that play on the field at any given time was absolutely ridiculous. Pitchers were scared to face him. Pitchers did not want to face him. He walked a ridiculous amount of times in his career. For them, anyway. He either hit a home run, he struck out, or he walked. Most of the time. I mean, yeah, he had a lot of hits, but he either homered, he struck out, or he walked. And that was kind of the way Babe Ruth played. It was just seeing him. So he has the most, perhaps, pure swing, one of them, I've ever seen. Not in the fact that it's so technically skilled, but in its power, its strength. It was tight. It was consistent. Pop, gone. So Babe Ruth is number 1 on our list. I hope you guys enjoyed my top 10 MLB players of all time. Please let me know in the comments below if you think I really missed anybody. And of course, I know I did. It's really hard to pick a top 10 in a sport where players have 25 men per roster, and the rosters were even bigger sometimes back then. And of course, over time, how the game has evolved, it's really hard to pick a top 10. A lot of people do it by stats. I do it, of course, stats are included in this, but, what? There we go. I also look at it for dominance over the game. How a player influenced the game during his time in the MLB, how he affected the league, how he was perceived by his teammates, other teams, as a player on the field. And these guys, all 10 of them, despite whatever controversy they may have, despite whatever issues they may have had, they were still some of the best players to ever grace this game, and they have put the game to a whole new level. That was another big thing. These players, they evolved the game. Babe Ruth, the first true power hitter, evolved baseball into a game of home runs. After that, it was a game of hits before Babe Ruth came into the league. But after Babe Ruth, if you were a home run hitter, you had a place in the major leagues. So, and then of course, we have guys who have 3,000 hits. We have guys with 500 wins. We have the guys who, during their eras, were the most dominant players on the field. And they dominated the league, regardless of how big it was or how good the competition was. For someone to be so dominant, it deserves a place in the top 10. So that is going to be it for today, guys. I hope you enjoyed this top 10 video. Richard the Guru, signing off.